What's up, Team Certified? Welcome back for another online instructional review. I'm still making my way through the Gracie Academy 32 principles. I know it's been kind of on again, off again. Been doing a lot of stuff with the actual gym, so it's taking some time. But this is actually the most viewed video on my Certified Jiu Jitsu YouTube page. So I figured I'd do another one. It has over 4,000 views. So if we get more views like that consistently, I'm going to finish this in no time. So just want to thank everyone who's watched that. I hope this brings you some valuable content. The basic overview here is just to provide a review of the 32 principles. Again, 32 principles, it was originally developed as like a purple belt rubric, and it has hours and hours of content, right? Some of them are 45 minutes, some of them are an hour. And the setup is pretty good. So it has kind of a basic overview of the principle, and it gives you kind of some homework to do, and then it tells you how to do it during live sparring. And so I think for white belts and especially blue belts, I think it'll give you just something to work on, especially if you feel like whatever program that you're in doesn't have as much structure. So for this module, we're just going to be covering the principles 6, 7, and 8 to round out. So they have them obviously in 8 principle increments. And these principles I think are not bad. Again, the visuals of this instructional series I think is one of the best that's out there. So I'll continue to say that because I think that's just objectively true. They definitely did a good job of doing some great visualizations. So if you're a visual learner, again, this is a good product for you. The three main principles that they covered are number one, acceptance, number two, velocity, and the final one is going to be clock choke. So acceptance 6, velocity 7, clock 8. And these principles, I think, interplay with each other almost congruently. I think you could have simplified it down to any one principle with these. So the acceptance principle, and this is something that I was kind of struggling with because I've worked with a lot of wrestlers, and in wrestling, there's just kind of this mantra of like, just don't accept that position. That's what me and my buddy Brandon used to always say together. I just don't accept bottom position. But when you're training as a white belt, blue belt, even going to purple belt, there are going to be times where you're just going to see it coming, right? The writing is going to be on the wall. Someone's going to get a sweep. And that's kind of what they're talking about with acceptance is like, if you can, and I think really the principle is anticipation of acceptance and inevitability. I know it's kind of wordy, so that's why they shortened it. But essentially you get to some points where you cross a point of no return, right? It's like in Back to the Future where the train reaches a point of no return and it's going to go off the cliff. And so in jiu-jitsu, you can still have time to recover. So it's not about fully accepting, an armbar or rear naked choke. But it's about making sure that you have a full understanding, so that you have to accept that the position is coming, maybe the sweep, and then you anticipate and then react before the end of the perceived inevitability. In addition to that, they talk about the velocity principle. This is something that Kynan Duarte talked about in the seminar that I went with him. So Kynan, he's one of the lead Atos black belts, and he said, if I have a match against a big guy, I go fast. If I have a match against a fast guy, I go slow. Sorry, terrible Brazilian accent. But he really was talking about, it's about pacing. So velocity is how fast you go and how slow you go. So as a white belt and blue belt, you need to learn to breathe under pressure. You need to learn to pick your moments. That's really how I view it. Is velocity is about picking your moments, when to explode, when to be explosive, and when to hold. And that interlays with the clock principles. The clock principle is disrupting someone else's velocity, right? Like they're exploding, and then you take affirmative steps using technique to slow them down. This is something that I've learned to do more and more. Um, Sparring with like one of my white belts, Jose. He is a bit younger than me. He's still in his 20s and much more athletic. I mean, he's ran track, and it's just inherently he'll always be more athletic than me. He has just God-given ability that I don't have. And so sometimes I'll get into like chasing his back and just going. And he just goes nonstop. And so sometimes you just have to interrupt that flow where he's just go. And you find ways to kind of slow him down and then be more methodical. So I think that's really what velocity and the clock principle is. Velocity is you personally choosing when to go faster and when to pick your moments. And the clock principle is trying to frustrate someone else who's trying to use velocity against you. So they're trying to pick their moments. And so you find ways to disrupt their their own velocity, their choice of when to go and when to be explosive. Um, so for the acceptance principle, some notes, it's like you want to use acceptance to move forward, and you say, okay, I've got it mounted and I saw that it's coming. So it's time to elbow knee escape or bridge or roll and just anticipate the next move. So start having the decision tree, as I call it, looking towards the next move after you've accepted the inevitable outcome. You use velocity to it can also help your gas tank if you can, choose your moments in particular. That way you're not just exploding all the time. So you don't go fast when you don't have to. And then the clock principle, which is different than the clock principle that I teach. I usually teach the clock principle as it comes to directionality of leg locks. But this is really about time management, about, slowing things down and interrupting your opponent's ability to use velocity. Okay, so that's about an hour and a half, 2 hours worth of content. They give you their homework assignments and their ability to spar with that. And so this is going to conclude kind of that first module, those first 8 principles. And so if you like this content, you know the drill. If you like and subscribe, I'd really appreciate it. As I'm trying to do this more full time, I can put out more content if it gets more views. So we got 4,000 views in the last one. That was amazing. Never expected that. So if this one gets a bunch of views, I'll do the next set of 8 principles as soon as I can. So thank you guys. And as always, stay certified.